Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a 2-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful morning here at the studios of Jim Hinckley's America, Kingman, Arizona. It's in spitting distance of legendary Route 66. It's about 48 degrees today. I guess we're just going to skip winter this year, and we're just going to go right into spring, it looks like. We're going to be taking a trip out to Lebanon, Missouri this morning. Visit with a fellow out there, Mr. Gary Sosniecki, with the Lebanon-Laclede Route 66 Society. Lebanon, it gets overlooked a little bit, especially even among Route 66 enthusiasts. Bob and Ramona Lehman out at the Munger Moss Motel kept the place in the spotlight quite a lot, and with their passing, things changed a tad bit. It's hard to fill a hole that big, but Gary and his crew there they're pretty active folks, and they have one of the best Route 66 museums hiding in plain sight. Gary, are you with us this morning? Not yet, huh? Well, let's see if we can get this going a tad bit. We got lots of fine folks with us. We'll talk about some of the other things going on there lately. I want to get an update from Gary about the Munger Moss Motel. And, we'll talk about a couple other things happening in that area. We want to find out if Lebanon gets any overflow from the birthplace of Route 66 Festival. That's nearby up in Springfield, Missouri. And I imagine there's a lot of overflow because that event is just massive. Last numbers I heard was somewhere around 60,000 plus in attendance. And since a lot of folks are driving there, they got to be Route 66 people. So I bet you that Lebanon gets a little bit of that as well. Let's see if we can find Gary here. Not yet. Well, when we get Gary here, we'll take you to Lebanon. This section of Missouri is really chock full of great things to see and do. I mentioned the museum there, and Gary can fill us in a little bit more on details. And the museum is actually in the library there, but don't be fooled. It is a true gem. Hey, Gary, how are you this morning?
I finally made it.
Yeah, I did. How are things in Lebanon this beautiful morning?
We're expecting a sunny day. Helen and I might even grill a steak this afternoon.
Great. What time should I be there?
We eat early. We're old, so probably 5 o'clock.
All right. Hey, I just beating my gums here a little bit, trying to get this thing going this morning. I was talking about your Route 66 museum, and it surprises me that it's a gem hiding in plain sight, and I'm surprised by how many people miss it.
But a lot of people don't. We had last year, the numbers were we had people from 52 countries, 50 states, 13,924 total visitors to the museum.
And, my gosh!
And it is free. It is open 6 days a week, and on Monday through Thursday, it's open till 8 o'clock at night. and we get a lot of. I'll tell you, we have a lot of foreign journalists come through to see it, and several of us from Route 66 Society were giving a tour on a Sunday to some foreign journalists. And normally it's not open on Sunday, but we were in the building. And after the journalists left, we got a knock on the door, and it was a young couple from China. And they asked if they could come in and see it. So we gave them another tour. So yeah, it's been very successful.
The key to this, for communities to really tap into this, the key is people such as yourself and your team. Passionate people who are willing to be flexible. They have a passion for what they do. They have an infectious enthusiasm. And you mentioned like staying open till 8 o'clock at night. That is a rarity. A lot of places, museums and visitor centers, it's 5 o'clock. We're going home. If you're in town, come back and see us tomorrow.
Well, that's one of the advantages of it being in the library, and that it's the same hours as the library. And I think a lot of people don't realize that's an old Kmart building, and the Kmart closed, and the newspaper, which my wife and I happen to be publishers of 25 years ago, suggested that the Kmart become the new library, and it did. And the museum then went into what was the garage of the Kmart. So that's where you went to buy tires in those days, and that's the museum. The museum itself, yeah. Go on.
I was not aware of that. Repurposing an old Kmart.
Brilliant. Yeah. And it's been successful. That was back what 22 years ago that happened. So it has been open now for 21 years, and the Route 66 Society. It is the library's museum, and I need to make that clear. But the Route 66 Society serves as advisors and does volunteer work at the museum.
My first visit was, I can't remember how many years ago. Zeno's was still open, I think, up in Rolla. And Rich Dinkla, Joe Sonderman, and we wandered down there. I had a book signing at the library with Joe Sonderman, and it was my first visit. That I was just really shocked and really surprised by the quality of the museum. It's very impressive.
Well, I'm particularly fond of the Nelsonville
yes,
and that has probably changed a little bit since you were there. The diorama is now inside a big exhibit when you come in, and with other memorabilia from the Nelson Hotel and the Nelson's Dream Village and the Nelson gas station. And I think what is really cool for our organization is our current president, Bruce Owen, is the grandson, great-grandson of Colonel A.T. Nelson, who donated the land for Route 66 west of Highway 5. So everything in West Lebanon was part of Colonel Nelson's apple orchard. And he donated that land. And of course, being a smart entrepreneur, I can barely say entrepreneur on a Sunday morning this early. He built a gas station. He built cabins. He built the Nelson Hotel, which the original name was the Nelson Tavern, even though it didn't serve alcohol. And then shortly after that, he built the Dream Village, which was motel across the street to it. So he also planted flowers all the way down Route 66. And it's great to have Bruce on hand, because when we're giving these tours of the museum, Bruce can tell from firsthand family experience how his ancestors were involved in it.
That Nelson Dream Village, it's a shame that was lost.
Yeah.
All the pictures I have seen, and of course the diorama is so detailed, that truly had to be almost an attraction in itself.
Yeah, we had an opportunity to save 2 cabins that had been moved, and someone was using them as a house a couple blocks away. And the Route 66 Society said, are you guys interested in taking this and restoring it? And the 2 cabins had been put together from the Dream Village. And we looked, not me personally, but we had experts look at it, and there was so much asbestos that we couldn't do anything with it, so we had to let that be destroyed. But we did restore a cabin from Camp Joy. You're familiar with that, right?
Yes, I followed the progress of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We just we are 99% finished with a replica of the Camp Joy arch that is on the sidewalk leading to the cabin. So that is, and the only thing that's not finished is there's a little bit of white paint that needs to be done on the back of the top of it, and it's too cold to put that paint on right now. So that'll get done in the spring.
It's so wonderful that Route 66 in general, how you've got to be at least my age, about 70, to have any real association with Route 66, but it has transcended being a highway. And it's so exciting to see younger generations getting involved with Route 66 and excited about it. And the tangible links that you are creating there, like Camp Joy, the museum, I think that goes a long way in getting a younger generation interested in our history.
Yeah, right. We try to speak at schools when we're invited. I think we don't get as many invitations as we like, but we do get a couple a year, and we'll send a group to a school and talk about Route 66. We also go to senior citizen centers and talk about Route 66. So we try to be ambassadors to the Mother Road, both at the museum and at schools, and whatever civic group wants us to do a program, we will do a program.
Well, I've got a little bit of distance between us, but I try to follow your exploits through the Route 66 Association of Missouri and Facebook, social media. And you and your team, I got to tell you, sometimes I just get tired watching what you're doing.
Well, some of us older people get tired of trying to keep up with it too.
Well,
and you can follow us. We've got 2 Facebook pages of our own. We've got a Facebook page, the Route 66 Society Facebook page, which keeps up to date on everything that we do and Route 66 history in our area. And I'm one of the administrators on that. We have a Route 66 festival for our own Route 66 festival Facebook page, and then we have a website, and which has become an archive of Route 66 history in Laclede County, and that is LebanonRoute66.com. So we keep busy with social media and with a website too.
Well, people talk a lot about the spirit of adventure that's encapsulated with Route 66. And it's more than just the road trip spirit of adventure. It's the spirit of adventure, people like yourself there in Lebanon, the spirit of adventure, discovering things, sharing the story with travelers, with schools,
Right.
Inspiring road trips, sharing America's story. That's a spirit of adventure in itself.
Yeah, and it's fun. We really enjoy it. We do a Route 66 tour guide too for our county, and this is something that as a former newspaper publisher, we made arrangements with the newspaper to partner on this, and it's a 48-page full color glossy paper magazine, and the newspaper prints 6,000 copies of that. And my wife and I distribute it all along Route 66 in Missouri, and from the Route 66 State Park over by Eureka, or as us old timers will say, Times Beach, all the way west of Joplin. And we have a heck of a time on the days that Helen and I go out and distribute this thing. It's so much fun going to all these other attractions, Gay Parita and the museum at Eureka, and now the Red Cedar Inn at Pacific. So we go to all these places and drop off copies of this.
That is the very essence of why Route 66 is so popular. From its inception, people like yourself, Gladys and Cuthbert and her husband, they're in Oklahoma. that were with the U.S. Highway 66 Association in the 50s.
Yeah.
That were traveling something like 40,000 miles a year, promoting Route 66, making it, because it's a linear community,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Michael Wallace said.
Yeah. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, and I drove Route 66 to college at the University of Missouri. So at least on the Missouri side, I've got a Volkswagen, a 1961 Volkswagen that I abandoned along Route 66 at a standard oil station around Staunton when it threw a rod and it wasn't worth fixing. So I've got a lot of stories just from driving that portion of Route 66 as a kid.
Oh gosh, yeah. I my folks teased me that I was potty trained on Route 66.
Eh,
We used to travel that thing since 1959, pretty much
Yeah, yeah.
every year, back and forth. One of the big events in your area is that birthplace of Route 66 festival over in Springfield. Do you get a lot of overflow from that?
No, we have our own festival.
Right.
And I like to tell my friends in Springfield. Now this is a joke now, so I don't want you to lose the listeners over this. But I say, your festival is bigger, but ours was first. So
A little friendly competition is
it
good.
is, and we have a booth in the glass building. We have a booth every year, and Lebanon Tourism has a booth every year. So we're promoting our festival and promoting our activities and selling our merchandise, because merchandise we have is personalized for Laclede County Route 66. So we're at the festival in Springfield every year. We have our members have their cars there and participate in the parade, and we hope that folks from Springfield come to our festival too.
Oh, I'm sure they do. And, by doing that, because, gosh, what they have last year at that festival in Springfield, like 60,000 people.
Yeah, yeah,
That's insane.
yeah, and from what I don't want to speak out of turn here, but apparently there are some problems with the businesses right now. Some of the businesses, and that's being negotiated. But yes, it's a wonderful festival, and Helen and I go every year, and
It's too big. It's almost too big for a town to handle. What is the dates of your festival there in Lebanon?
our festival currently is on the first Saturday of June. So this year, I think that is June 7th. And it is at Boswell Park, which is on Route 66 west side of town, and that park has been recreated as a Route 66 park. That is where the Camp Joy cabin is now, and the Camp Joy Arch. We have a 66 mural drive because we have three murals there that are with tile murals, and they're big, and one of them is where we invite people to pull their car up and take pictures in front of the mural. We also have there on 66 Mural Drive at the cul-de-sac, we have a replica of the fountain that was at Nelson's Dream Village. Now, it's not an exact replica, but it is close. It's something that could be built now as opposed to 1936. So we
Can
have
you
that.
can you provide a little detail about what made that fountain so special?
I think it. I think there was color. There were colors. There was music. It was rock. It was just a tourist attraction in itself back in
Yes.
the day.
Yeah. Yeah. That fella, Mr. Colonel Nelson, sure had some vision, didn't he?
He did, and there's a historian in Missouri, Ross Malone, and he's a native of Lebanon, and he believes that he saw a newspaper article, I think in the New York World. He claims that Colonel Nelson's orchard at one time was the biggest in the world, his apple orchard, and of course Route 66 cut right through the middle of it. But I think, yeah. But when he donated that land, and I teased Bruce about this, that when he donated that land, he knew what he was doing because he opened up all those businesses along Route 66.
Yeah. Yeah, when you consider that Route 66 officially doesn't even exist anymore,
Right.
it's even more astounding. But we owe this to people like Colonel Nelson. This popularity of this road today is we owe it to people like Colonel Nelson, because the publicity and the promotion, the hype, the attractions, the businesses that were created weren't just businesses; they were attractions in themselves.
Yeah, yeah. This tour guide that we do, I supply all the editorial content to it. It has over 100 locations in our county, in the 36 miles of Route 66 that still exist in Laclede County. There are more than 100 locations identified where there was something, some business, something involving Route 66, and the tour guide is divided in sections where you can go mile by mile and see where all these places were. Now some of them are still there. You know, like Riley's Snack Bar. The you can still see where the gas pumps were. The pump island is still there. That's all that's there. But if you're looking for Riley's Snack Bar, that's where it was. So that is so much fun driving that every year, just checking to see what is still there, and updating the tour guide.
Yes, yes. Speaking of updates, I get a lot of inquiries lately about the Munger Moss.
Right.
Is any updates on what's going to be happening with
Yeah. Well, that's the big news in Lebanon-Laclede County right now. The big Route 66 news, and I'll say that after 2 years of uncertainty, the Munger Moss has been saved. The iconic sign will be repaired and maintained by the city of Lebanon, which is terrific because our city government is big on tourism. The motel's appearance will stay the same, and there'll be a significant number of rooms that will remain available for overnight tourists. Now, my thoughts on this is, we all loved Ramona, and my wife and I moved back to Lebanon 9 years ago last week, and we spent the first 2 nights back in Missouri, back in Lebanon. We spent the first 2 nights at the Munger Moss until our furniture caught up with us. And I think we paid $25 the first night, and Ramona didn't charge us the second night. But she, boy, I miss her. But, Bob died, and Ramona's health started to decline, and she had a couple of offers to sell, and she just thought she was going to live forever. And she was not going to leave her beloved Munger Moss.
Yeah.
So anyway, her estate went into probate, and the probate judge awarded it. He thought the best offer, the best bid was to Mark Bertel, and he's the founder and CEO of the Dells Corporation, which does a lot of restoration work, and they're out of Mountain Home, Arkansas. And they have restored. If you remember where the original Holiday Inn is on the west side of town.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And he has completely restored that and turned that into studio apartments for extended stay. And then the Wyoda Inn on the east side of town, there was a Best Western. He has completely restored that. And I know there were some businesses in that area that were very concerned when he took that over, and they are thrilled now with the nice job he has done. So the city government is quite pleased that Mark got the Munger Moss, and he came to our meeting. He came by phone to our meeting 2 weeks ago. He was going to fly in, and the wind was so strong that he couldn't fly in. So he got on the telephone, and our tourism director put a microphone up to that, and he gave a great report to us. We were all happy with everything he said, and I wrote down a quote here or something. If I can find it in my notes, but he said, "I want to preserve the history that's there, and I have no intention of ever messing with that." He said, "It's a property that I really enjoy." He told us a story that when he and his wife were newlyweds, they drove Route 66, and they came through Lebanon and looked at the Munger Moss. He said, "I never dreamed that one day I would own it." So we're very optimistic. It seems like it was the best possible thing of all of the options that were there, and there weren't any options, and we didn't have any say in it. We didn't have a standing in the probate court case, but it seems like it's something we're enthusiastic about now, and we're optimistic that it's all going to happen the way he says it is.
A community is very fortunate to have people like that have a vision for an older property, and they can give it a new lease on life and repurpose it so it benefits the community and basically saves it. Flagstaff, I just met with some folks up there recently. Some ambitious people, very similar, took on a massive 90-room 1962 Americana motor hotel and did a marvelous job with it.
Well, it's hard when I'm trying to remember what Ramona told me in one of my many interviews of her, how many rooms there were. I think if you include I don't know. I know at one point when Jesse and Pete Hudson had it, they were up to 77 rooms, and then some of them were combined into efficiency apartments, and I think it was down to 60, 61 rooms or something. So, it is hard for an older motel that is that big to make a profit, to be full every night.
Yeah.
You can fill up the Munger Moss, for 1 or 2 nights a year when you've got something involving Route 66 or a car show or something comes through. But it's really hard, and especially if you were paying a mortgage on it. So I think this is the best possible option that we've got, and we're excited, especially the sign. That sign is a bigger attraction than the motel itself, because all these cars come by and pull off and take a picture of their car in front of the sign, or of the people in front of the sign. And when I have tourists in town from out of state, I bring them there and pose them in front of the sign and take a picture with their camera of them. So I think the fact that the city is going to own the sign and the land around it, the city here of Lebanon is a huge supporter of Route 66, and the city administrator, the city council, one of the city council members is on our board. Just by coincidence, the park board, they're big supporters. So knowing that the city is going to be in charge of that sign is going to let us sleep at night.
Oh, yes, it would. It's wonderful to see a city. I am surprised by how many communities along the Route 66 corridor struggle economically, rural communities, and they're trying to find a way, not just tourism, but they're trying to find something to spark as a catalyst for economic development, but they overlook Route 66. That surprises me. So Lebanon is a great example of what can be done if you have a sense of community,
Yes.
community purpose, and people with vision, and most importantly, leadership.
Yeah, and Ramona used to complain in the older days. Well, the city, the community doesn't care about Route 66, but I will tell you that has changed. And I'll tell you when Ramona changed her mind. We had a $1 million plus renovation of our civic center, and I think you've probably been in our civic center, and you may have had a book signing there or something. But they have renamed the meeting rooms the Route 66 meeting rooms. And there are Route 66 photos, the postcards reproduced all over the walls, logos all over the walls of the meeting rooms. And the city administrator gave Ramona a tour of that when it was done, because I was there when that happened. I've got a picture of them. And she was convinced that the city, the community now believes in Route 66. And, tourism here always in the past has been Bennett Springs State Park, which is just 12 miles out of town here. And that was the main draw as far as tourism was concerned. That's a big trout fishing park. And I think it generates more revenue than any other state park in Missouri. And and now our tourism director will say she gets just as many inquiries about Route 66 as she does Bennett Spring.
It's nice to see new generation taking over, like Reese Martin and Sam down in Oklahoma. But there's something to said about the older generation, the pioneers of the Renaissance, if you will, and going waxing nostalgic here. Bob and Ramona, when they'd come out here to Arizona, sometimes in the winter, we'd have a nice visit. And one of my fondest memories, kind of dark humor. I stopped at the Munger Moss, not overnight, just popped in to say hello. I was headed for a conference in Illinois, and I'll always remember this. I asked Ramona how everybody was doing, and she's asked how Bob was doing, and she goes, "Oh, Bob went and fell off the roof again." It was just I don't know. Yeah, just
Well,
I don't know.
well, if Ramona hadn't started falling, she might still be with us. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, you talked new generation. We've got starting to get a newer generation on our Route 66 Society board. Mike Boggs is our vice president now, and he is the supervisor for of the Conway I-44 welcome centers on both sides of the road, and he's been a tremendous asset to the Route 66 Society, coming up with new ideas, and he is an I don't know you technically say if he's in charge of planning for the our Route 66 festival, but he's a good idea person, and we're lucky to have him. And then another younger person, and I say younger than me. People even their 40s would be far younger than me. Carl Cones is one of our board members. So he's younger. So we are getting younger people involved.
This is a testimony to you, your team, Lebanon, allowing we have a tendency as we get older to become rigid, almost rigor mortis, if you will, stiff, and it's rare to find communities that will and associations allow people to come in with new ideas, fresh ideas, and adapt to them. That we have a tendency to focus on what was instead of seeing what will be. And I think we need that young input. It's very important. New ideas, new technology.
And you're right. Sometimes it's hard for some of us older folks to catch on, but they are good ideas. One of the things that Mike Boggs has been working on. I know you've talked on some of your podcasts about the centennial, and Mike started at our festival what he's calling the centennial concert series. And last year's festival for entertainment, we brought in, and Mike did this. He brought in the Bald Knobbers, which is the famous group out of Branson, Missouri, and been performing in Branson. I don't remember if they were first or the Presleys were first, but he brought them in to entertain at our festival, and he hopes that each year leading up to the centennial, he brings in a bigger name. And I don't know what he's got planned for next year yet. I think he's trying to lock down this year's entertainment, but he's already seeking grant money and stuff to help to pay for a really big name for next year's festival, Centennial Festival. So that's great. Mike also has, with his connections with the Department of Tourism, he has pointed out that the World Cup is going to be partly in Kansas City next year, and the Missouri Department of Tourism or Division of Tourism believes that the overflow, the visitors from all over the world who will be in Kansas City next year, that we might benefit from some of them. So we are looking towards that too.
Yeah, well, that's really important. You don't want to become so myopic, so narrow-minded. You look down a beer bottle with both eyes, and the only thing you see is Route 66. Because a lot of your market, these communities, you draw a circle around your community of, say, 200 miles. That gives you a huge market to draw people and introduce them to Route 66.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll mention Bennett Spring again. Bennett Spring celebrated its centennial this year, and they had a big Saturday. Well, they had a weekend of activities, I think, but on the Saturday they invited us to organize a car show at Bennett Spring, which we did, and of course that was all of our people plus other people who don't ordinarily know about us, and that was a huge deal.
Your festival, is it the first Saturday of
It's
in
first
June?
Saturday of June. Yeah, we did Father's Day weekend for a while. Um, we we did it, and that was at the request of the uh, park board or the parks director that we do it on Father's Day weekend because there used to be that we move it to Father's Day weekend because there and that we move it to the park because years ago there was a festival Father's Day weekend, and we experimented with that, and we did a few years we did Friday night and Saturday. We partnered with the Downtown Association for a couple years. We partnered with Ramona one year. She brought a TV station in on the Friday night, so we were at the Munger Moss. But that weekend is so hot. It is just hot, hot, hot that we started losing the crowd early. So we moved it up to a cooler weekend. And I think a couple years now, it's been the first Saturday in June. And that just 2 weeks does make a difference as far as the heat.
Well, just having it, that's I'll make sure that's on the calendar. I work with the folks that developed the Route 66 navigation app,
Yes.
and I'll make sure that this is noted for that this year and next year. It's the first Saturday in June,
Yes.
and that way we can, because a lot of our travelers, especially our European and other travelers, they plan pretty far in advance. So we'll see, make sure we get the word out on
Yeah,
that.
we've already had a tour bus, a motor coach company ask us about the festival in the centennial year.
Yeah.
So that's we've got another motor coach company that is inquired just about doing something during the centennial year. But this one is inquired about actually coming to our festival, which would be really really cool.
Well, I work with a lot of companies. I help organize tours, and I've kind of been surprised by how many tour companies have reached out to me, coach tours and otherwise. About 26 helping put together an itinerary and schedule. I just finished creating one for a Norwegian coach company to
Yeah.
be coming through next year. Uh, yeah, it's gosh darn it, it's if we don't burn the country down or have another apocalypse like 2020, next year is going to be a game changer.
Yeah, yeah, and besides it being anniversary for the country, 1976, and the World Cup in Kansas City, and our centennial. You know that we have the national chairman of the Route 66 Centennial Commission is from Lebanon. You know that
Really? Yes.
that Rod Reed. Shepherd Hills Factory Outlets is he and his family owned, and they owned the Capri Motel in on Route 66 in the old days. But Rod was appointed by President Biden as on the federal commission, and then Rebecca Rupard, who is our tourism director, is on the state Centennial Commission. And thanks to Rod, Rebecca also it participates in the working groups of the federal Route 66 Centennial Commission. So we're well connected there. We're very happy about that.
One of my concerns, and I don't see this as a problem at all in Lebanon with what you've got going there, but I worry that some of the communities are focused solely on the Centennial as a destination instead of seeing the Centennial as the opening chapter for planning for the bicentennial.
Well, that's true. And our story was our group was founded because of the 75th anniversary of Route 66. And that would be in 2001. And Bill Wheeler, who the late Bill Wheeler, who should get credit for so much of what has happened on Route 66 in Lebanon-Laclede County. Bill Wheeler was he was in a ham radio group, an amateur radio group, and they were looking for some kind of promotion for the Route 66 75th anniversary. And that grew into a festival, our first Route 66 festival, which he formed a committee, the Lebanon Route 66 Festival Committee. And I was on that committee, and Ramona was on that committee. And of course, Bill Wheeler organized it. So we had a festival at the Civic Center, and Bill was, I forget what his title was at the Civic Center, but I think he was in charge of events at the Civic Center at that time. And so the first festival went very well. I was going to ask you if you were there, because we had several authors there. That you may have been too young back then, but
No, I wasn't too young, but no, I did not make that.
So we had that one at the Civic Center, and we had a parade and a cruising, and then we had another one the next year, and I think that year we added, or maybe the following, we added a beauty pageant. So this went on for quite a few years. Then they skipped a few years, and the group ran out of gas back then. Then we kind of had a regeneration in 2016, and we started again in 2017. So even though we've been doing this since 2001, I think this will just be our 18th. But it all started because of the 75th anniversary. So yeah, that's what triggered everything. The Route 66 Festival Committee turned into the Route 66 Society.
You've got two of my favorite places there. I'm a real partial to eating when I'm on the road, and Elm Street Eatery and Dowd's.
Well, I know you've mentioned that. I made a whole list of restaurants on Route 66. Jim, I got 9 pages of notes in front of me. I've got a cup of coffee here too. So hopefully I haven't. Hopefully I don't spill the coffee. But now the Elm Street Eatery is my favorite place for a Western omelet.
Yes. Okay. I'll agree with that one.
And Dowd's, of course, a few years ago was voted the best catfish in Missouri. And so that I agree with you on that. But now keep in mind here that we've got a lot of other restaurants on Route 66, including Rink's Market, which is now a restaurant.
Oh, uh-huh.
It is now Smokin' Jones Barbecue and Rink's Pies. So it still has Rink's as part of the title. And the great slab of ribs, man. Helen and I have been in there a couple times now since it opened, and we've split a slab of ribs. And so that is that's a great place. Yeah.
You had me at pie.
Yeah.
You want to get my attention? Mention pie or cobbler.
I think they advertised coconut cream pie last night, and we'd already eaten. And then of course, and the exterior of Rink's looks the same. So that's nothing has changed. So that's still there. Don't forget Taylor's Dairy Joy right next to Rink's, and the history of that goes back to Alexander's Dairy Joy, which was on Route 66, just east of Conway. And after Route 66 moved in 1957 and 1958, they lost all their business, so they moved to Lebanon. So they were in Lebanon, and then at some point they moved to the current location next to Rink's. So that is Taylor's Dairy Joy. Then you got around the corner back by the Wyota, you've got Andy's 417 with breakfast and lunch, and best fried chicken. If you get there on the day when Nancy's making fried chicken for lunch, that is the best fried chicken in town. So then if you're heading west, remind me to mention Elm Street again, because there's important what else they do. But El Sombrero is Mexican. There's a new food truck, Tokyo Hibachi Express, which is parked just west of Dowd's. There's the Brick House Bar and Grill. There's everyone's favorite, the Waffle House. We ate breakfast there Friday. There's Slim Chickens, which sponsors the disc golf tournament at our Route 66 Festival. Jonesy's Travel Center, and that's where the Route, which is the truck stop. That's where Route 66 Society meets for our monthly breakfast meeting. And historically, that's the old B&D truck port. And during Route 66 days, that was the Oasis truck port, one of the Oasis truck port. And then you go west end of the county. You got the Rocking Chair Restaurant at Conway, which has buffets all weekend. That is a great place to go on a Friday night.
You've piqued my interest. What else you got on the Elm Street Eatery?
Okay, the folks who own the Elm Street Eatery and one of their employees and her husband restored the old Lens tourist home, which also later days during a 1950s rebranding was known as by the strange name of the Lens Home Hotel, and it was a mansion, and it is on it's on the north side of Route 66, near the Civic Center. And they bought that. It had been a private home and private business for several years. They bought that about 2018 and completely restored it into a B&B with you can get a breakfast there, or you can get a certificate to go over to Elm Street and get your breakfast. Every room now, as my understanding, every room has a private bath. The rooms have different names. There's a Bennett Spring room. There's a name. I think one of the rooms is named after Mr. Lenz, and the Lenz family is inducted into our Route 66 Wall of Fame, which is another story I should tell you. But that is a place. It is called the Manor House Inn now. And I really wish it got more Route 66 traffic than it does, because it's just a beautiful place, and it is very historic. That building was there serving Route 66 travelers before the Hudsons moved to Lebanon and built the Munger Moss.
I kind of deviate a little bit here before we run out of time. I got to ask you, speaking of book signings, you wrote an interesting book a while back.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with Route 66.
No, it doesn't, but it fascinated me. I met you shortly after you wrote that, and that book is intriguing, shall we say? And I had to mention that.
It is. Thank you. It's the Potato Masher Murder: Death at the Hands of a Jealous Husband. It's published by Kent State University Press. It's available from Kent State on their website. It's available on Amazon and other places. It is about the murder of my great grandmother by her jealous second husband, and it's something I just knew a little bit about until I retired and really started researching it. And it took 4 years of research and writing 12 drafts and finding the publisher. And then I spent a year and a half to 2 years really promoting it, speaking all over the country, although most of it was on Zoom when it was out of state. And the book is still selling, and there's copies at the gift shop at the Lebanon-Laclede County Library.
Another reason to visit the library and museum.
That gift shop is terrific. With a lot of Route 66 books in there and Route 66 items.
Nolan Stoltz, Professor Nolan Stoltz, mentioned that one of his favorites is Mel's. Is on Madison.
Mel's.
Yeah, he said
Mel's. Yes.
He said that's what Professor Nolan Stoltz mentioned, that's one of his favorites there in Lebanon.
Yes. Yeah. Well, our downtown has been completely restored. You won't find an empty building in our downtown. And my wife is here. She's shaking her head and she's trying to think. Maybe, but you won't find it. And Mel's, they have a grouper sandwich, and we enjoy going to Florida and eating groupers. So you can get a fried grouper sandwich at Mel's. So that's my favorite there.
Gosh darn it. If this doesn't inspire a road trip to Lebanon, I don't know what will.
There is food. There's restaurants all over town. I gave you the list of those on Route 66, but we got several Chinese. We've got Italian. We've got all of the fast food restaurants. So there are plenty of places to eat here.
We're going to have to do this again, Gary, because I'll tell you, we've only just touched the surface of the things that's going on. But I got to tell you, it's people like yourself with your infectious enthusiasm that gets people excited about road trips. They start they look at their community a little bit different about vacant storefronts or what they can do breathe some new life into their community. And that's the whole idea here.
Yeah, and I'm going to sneak in 10 seconds. I'll tell you, we have the Route 66 Wall of Fame here too, which I got that idea after visiting Pontiac, and in the old days visiting a Dixie truck stop. But we have a Laclede County Route 66 Wall of Fame, and we just inducted our fourth class, and that is located at the entrance to the museum. So you don't want to miss that. A lot of history on that.
Gary, God bless. I know we didn't get to half of what you wanted to talk about, and I do apologize, but we
That's
will do
fine.
this again. And I want to thank you for taking time from your Sunday morning schedule to do this. And we hope we didn't keep you from a good breakfast somewhere.
We're going to go out to breakfast when I hang up.
Good. Where are we going?
Well, let's see. We ate at Waffle House on Friday. We ate downtown at the Lunchbox, which is our favorite downtown yesterday. So I think we're going to go to Denny's this morning.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Gary, thank you so very much. And
Thank you for inviting me.
You bet. And please keep me posted on any developments and events, and I'll do everything I can to help promote it.
Will do.
And we'll keep get this event promoted and going. And hopefully, if I don't take another bus driver's holiday in October, I'll give you a holler when I come through.
Absolutely.
My last trip through Lebanon in October, I have a tendency. My wife says we should take a vacation sometime. I was coming back from the conference in Illinois, the Miles of Possibility conference.
Yes.
I was speaking there, and stayed with Connie Eccles up at the Wagon Wheel Motel.
Yes.
And we left in the morning. It was just starting to really rain hard. We got through just before I-44 closed. We made it through Kansas just in front of the tornadoes.
Yes.
And then drove through the blizzards in New Mexico. So maybe
Yes.
next year it might go a little better.
Well, come and stay at if Munger Moss isn't reopened by then, stay at the Manor House Inn. That's a beautiful place and it's worth trying.
Sir, thank you so very much this morning. Greatly appreciated this.
Thank you for inviting me, Jim.
You bet. Bye-bye, Gary.
Bye-bye.
My friends, I hope you enjoyed this morning. This was really an inspirational visit with Gary. I tell you, it's that passionate enthusiasm, that sense of community and community purpose. And that's what makes Route 66 really unique. That's what gives it its magic. You'll find more mom and pop, more small town America on US 6, US 50, but you won't find this linear sense of communities working together, people pulling together as you do on Route 66. And that's what makes it a grand adventure. With that said, I'm going to have to, I don't want to tie everybody up too much this morning. We'll do this again next Sunday morning. We're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. And while we do that, if you've got any questions, please type away here and we'll try to get them answered for you. But let's give a little shout out to some of our sponsors real quick here.
Well, folks, another fascinating deep dive on Route 66 comes to a close.
It really does seem like the Mother Road just keeps giving, doesn't it?
I think so. And, today was really special. You had Gary Sosniecki with us from the Lebanon-Laclede County Route 66 Society.
Yeah, what a guest.
And, he, I think, really, one of the takeaways from the conversation with him is just how much enthusiasm there is for Route 66 and the upcoming centennial in 2026.
Absolutely. I mean, he had me so excited about the murals and the neon signs and the car shows.
Yeah, and the birthplace of Route 66 Festival.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a blast.
I think, we've talked about this a little bit before, but that festival it's growing by leaps and bounds.
Seems like it.
And it's really become a signature event.
Well, and he made a good point, too, about the economic impact for these small towns.
Yes, he did. And, that's something I think we're going to see a lot more of as we get closer to the centennial.
Oh, definitely.
Because, communities are starting to realize the potential that Route 66 has to really revitalize their economies.
Right. And it's not just about tourism either, is it? It's about community pride and preserving history.
Yeah. And I think Gary really hit the nail on the head when he talked about how Route 66 represents, that spirit of adventure and freedom that's so deeply ingrained in American culture.
Absolutely. It's more than just a road. It's an idea.
It is an idea, and that's why I think it continues to resonate with people all over the world.
Yeah, that's fascinating to think about.
Yeah, and I think, as we move forward in our deep dives, we're going to be looking at all kinds of different aspects of Route 66.
Absolutely.
But I think, the takeaway from this conversation is that the future of Route 66 is bright.
Couldn't agree more.
And we're going to be right here along for the ride.
Well, I, for one, can't wait to see what we discover next week when we head to Pontiac, Illinois.
Pontiac, Illinois.
You keep calling it the quintessential Route 66 town. And I'm really intrigued by what that actually means.
Well, we're going to find out next week when we talk to Liz Vincent.
Oh, right. The Director of Community Enrichment.
Exactly. She's, I've heard she's just a dynamo, and she's been really instrumental in some of the projects that are going on in Pontiac to really leverage Route 66 for economic development.
I wonder if they're doing anything similar to what Gary was talking about in Lebanon with the murals and the festivals.
I'm sure there are some similarities, but I think every town along Route 66 has its own unique flavor.
Oh, for sure. And that's part of what makes it so special, right?
Exactly.
There's always something new to discover.
There is, and I think Pontiac's going to be a real treat.
I can't wait.
So, folks, whether you're a diehard Route 66 fan or just someone who loves a good story about small-town America.
Or even if you just enjoy a good road trip.
That's right. Be sure to join us next week for another smile-inducing, road trip-inspiring adventure.
It's going to be a good one.
It is. And, of course, we couldn't bring you these stories without the support of our amazing sponsors. So let's give a big shout-out to Connie Eccles and the iconic Wagon Wheel Motel in Cuba, Missouri.
I hear they have the best rocking chairs on Route 66.
That's what I hear. And then, if you're looking for a real blast from the past, head over to the Roadrunner Lodge Motel in Tucumcari, New Mexico.
Ooh, with those awesome tiki rooms.
Yes, sir. And, while you're in Tucumcari, be sure to check out those neon signs that the town is famous for.
So bright and colorful.
They really are. They're like a step back in time. And speaking of history, be sure to visit Vicky Ashcraft at the Enchanted Trails Trading Post and RV Park in Albuquerque.
Vicky's not just a great host, though. She's also the president of the Route 66 Association of New Mexico.
That's right. She's a real advocate for the Mother Road. And if you're inspired to plan your own Route 66 adventure after listening to our show today, head over to Route Trip USA.
They really know how to put together a fantastic itinerary.
They do. And they have knowledgeable consultants like yours truly who can help you craft the perfect journey.
Oh, and we can't forget the Cactus Inn Motel in McLean, Texas, another great stop on Route 66.
Absolutely. So a huge thank you to all of our sponsors for making Coffee with Jim and our educational programs possible. And to our Patreon supporters, your generosity is what keeps the engine running. We couldn't do it without you.
Thanks to everyone for listening.
And we'll see you back here next week for another adventure on the Mother Road.
Safe travels, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
My friends, I thank everyone for joining us this morning. I thank Gary very much. His enthusiasm's got me thinking about things. And when I have to look up the bald knobbers, that one's got me really intrigued. And we'll have to add the Route 66 Festival there in Lebanon to our schedule for June. I mentioned the Route 66 navigation app. That and Jerry McClanahan's Easy 66 guide. If you've got the Route 66 navigation app and the Easy 66 guide, you won't have much problems, and you will discover the very best of what Route 66 has to offer. But to really get the best from Route 66, plan but do not overplan. Take time to talk to people like Gary, because it's the people. It comes down to that. It's the people that really make a Route 66 trip special. And opening a museum when after hours and sharing this with people. That's what will make your trip memorable and exciting. As our co-host mentioned, we're going to be talking to Liz Vincent next week. I can't go into a lot of details, but Kaisa Barthuli was scheduled. National Park Service Route 66 Corridor Preservation Program. There's some changes to her department, and some other things have come up. So we're going to have to reschedule. We've had to postpone that. But Liz Vincent graciously agreed on short notice to join us next week. And then the following week, we'll be talking with Joel Baker. Talk about collecting odd things. Some people collect cars. Some people collect salt and pepper shakers. Joel collected giants, the old fiberglass muffler men. And, well, he started the American Giants Museum up in Atlanta, Illinois, with some of his collection, and it's growing. We'll be talking to him on, I believe, the 16th of this month. Then on the 23rd, we got something special for you. We're going to talk to Marlo Anderson, creator of the National Day Calendar. So lots of good stuff coming down the pike. With that said, Gary, thank you so very, very much. And please feel free to share this program. It will be published on Spotify and other podcast platforms later today. I'll have information there about the festival in Lebanon. And we also have an embedded player on several websites like thebee.news and Kingman Tours, kingman.tours. If you'd like an embedded player for your website for archived programs, please let me know. We also have a website on Podbean just for archived programs. And that's real easy. It's jimhinckley.podbean.com. For travel planning information and road trip inspiration, good storytelling, well, check out our website, jimhinckleysamerica.com. Hey, I am glad that everybody enjoyed this today, and I hope you're inspired for a trip to Lebanon. With that said, speaking of road trips, let's inspire one with a little bit of music from Joe and Woody and the boys of the road crew. And until we meet again, my friends, vaya con Dios.
Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a 2-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.